The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your relationships is determined by your self-awareness and social awareness, and then the corresponding self-management and social management. What do you do with that awareness now, both for yourself and for those in your life? EQ gangsters. So today we're going to talk about the depth of connection in relationships. How connected do you want to be in relationships? What relationships do you want to be connected in? And what determines how connected you want to be to somebody? What are some of the factors that affect connectedness? And here's where I even came up with this thought. So recently met a guy, and so he's probably, some of you guys have heard me talk about this. In fact, one of the episodes, I just did an interview on Mentor Podcast by John Roy and John Herrera, Mentor Podcast, episode 4. And I talk about how personality, the relationship, a little bit between the relationship between personality and emotional intelligence. And for those personality types that are either completely have done what I've done for most of my life, stuff and avoid their emotions, and are not aware of their emotions, and or are disconnected from their emotions because all you've done is stuff and avoid, which again is me. And then the 4 deadly sins of emotions, which that's an episode I did recently: stuffing, avoiding, stewing, and brooding. And so you are, you're not connected to, you're connected to your emotions, but you shut them off, right? You stuff and avoid. And then add on top of that the personality styles that are less emotional, which are, for if you're using DISC, it's the steady and the dominant, are the less emotional. Not that they're not emotional, not that they don't have emotions, but they are less emotional compared to the influencer and the conscientious. Those are more emotional and more sensitive. Again, the influence and the conscientious. And if you're using the personality plus model, sanguines and melancholies are more emotional and more sensitive. Cholerics and phlegmatics are less emotional and less sensitive. Now, I said less, not that they're not sensitive or that they're not emotional. It's just they're less. And so, again, you add that dynamic onto somebody who already stuffs and avoids. Again, like me, for most of my life, again, you are going to get somebody that does not feel connected to their emotions, and again, oftentimes will therefore not be or feel connected to anybody else's emotions. Again, I recently met a guy who is stone cold Steve Austin, hard as woodpecker lips. So he's the dominant personality, the choleric personality, all business. And again, I'm sure there's some stuffing and avoiding going on as well, on top of his already less emotional personality style and bent. That is going to impact, that's going to impact how close you will be to somebody. If you are detached from your own emotions and unaware of others' emotions, so your self-awareness and social awareness, using Daniel Goleman's EQ model, if they're both low, you may not even be aware of this dynamic, but there are going to be people that, and in fact, most people are just not going to feel connected to you or not going to feel close to you. And what that can look like is maybe someone mistreats you or treats you very, kind of coldly, and you wonder, man, why are they being rude or mean or insensitive? Well, those personalities probably wouldn't be thinking that, but they'd be thinking, man, why are they being such a rear end? Well, it's because it's because of your lack of connection to your own emotions and your lack of awareness of others' emotions. And so, which is going to impact your relationships and the depth and quality of relationships. A pastor I knew once said, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your relationships is determined by your self-awareness and social awareness, and then the corresponding self-management and social management. What do you do with that awareness now, both for yourself and for those in your life? The other dynamic that's going to impact your closeness and your connection with somebody else is your vulnerability and transparency. I remember there was a guy that I knew who I spent loads and loads of time around, and a number of other people spent loads and loads of time around as well. And the funny thing is, after a decade around this guy, I told him, I said, look, I'm not trying to tell you this to change your personality or to change who you are, because how you are is how you are. I'm just telling you that myself and many other people around you that spend a lot of time with you feel like complete strangers to you. And he kind of that kind of blew his hair back. He's like, what? I said, dude, the majority of people who spend time with you do not feel close to you at all. And I totally disagree. That's not true. That's not true. I'm like, okay. The other dynamic with nobody feeling close to you is nobody feels like they can approach you and tell you the truth. Oh, people tell me the truth all the time. I said, okay, how many people have ever given you constructive criticism or constructive feedback? Or is it all just great stuff? It was all just great stuff. No one would tell this guy constructive feedback or things that he could work on or things that they observed in his behavior or whatever. It was all blowing smoke up his rear end because he had this position in his company. And I said, that's proof that people don't feel close to you, and which is also another consequence of not being socially aware, and in some cases self-aware. You're not going to be approachable, and which just means you're not going to hear the truth from people. How many relationships and scenarios does that happen? I mean, that happens regularly in corporate America, in the business world. And a lot of times it's because that entrepreneur, that leader, that vice president, that senior leader, that captain, that NCO, that major lieutenant colonel, they're not approachable. They think they are. Oh yeah, man, people, oh yeah, I'm so approachable. I have an open door policy. How many people take advantage of your open door policy? If nobody takes advantage of your open door policy, you may have an open door policy, but that doesn't mean you're approachable. This is good, man. This is good. So keep that in mind. So vulnerability and transparency impacts somebody's ability or desire to be connected and be transparent, vulnerable back at you. I'm taking this course right now, and it talks about vulnerability-based trust versus positional-based trust. You want to have in relationships, to have true, connection in relationship, you want vulnerability-based trust, not positional-based trust. So, And again, some of you listen to this and be like, well, dude, I have no desire to be connected, feel connected, and I don't care if anyone else is connected or feels connected to me. I don't care. Okay, well, that's fine. But for those of you that do have a desire to be more connected to your family, your organization, your team, your company, your business partners, that is something that I would strongly encourage you to work on and be aware of. There's another one. I have, one of my coaching clients said, yeah, dude, I don't talk about how I'm feeling to my family at all. I don't want my kids to know. I don't want my wife to know. And this guy is the steady personality. He's the phlegmatic personality. He's the steady conscientious. So he's an SC personality along with, and then the other style is, he's phlegmatic melancholy. And so I'm like, dude, like I'm kind of shocked and surprised that, because he seems very open and transparent to me. So I was kind of surprised and shocked that he just straight out said, yeah, dude, I'm not telling my friends, my family, my emotions and stuff and things that I have to work on. And I'm like, dude, why? What's the story going on there, right? What's the story that you are telling yourself about being vulnerable, open, and transparent with your family? And once we dug deep, he said, well, I don't know, I'm just uncomfortable. Okay, but why? What's the story? What are you telling yourself? That if you open up, if you become vulnerable and transparent, that means what? What is the meaning that you've attached to that story that you've got in your being about opening up? So your story is, hey, I don't open up. Okay, why? What are the other sub-stories? And what it came down to is his personality, the conscientious personality, the melancholy personality, are typically perfectionists. They love accuracy. They don't like to be wrong. Being vulnerable and transparent does not necessarily come natural to them. And so for him, he's like, man, if I reveal how I really feel and share some things that I'm working on, he's like, isn't that a sign of weakness? I said, bro, if your family thinks that you don't have any weaknesses, you know what I mean? Or if your business team, if your colleagues, if your coworkers, if your company does not realize you have weaknesses, I said, I guarantee you that's probably not the scenario. Most people are pretty aware of their leaders' weaknesses. And so to act like you don't have any, or to think like you're fooling somebody that you don't have any weaknesses is kind of naive. And again, you're keeping people at emotional arm's length if you act like, or if you don't want to reveal deeper emotions, or you don't, you're not willing, or you don't want to be vulnerable and transparent. So that is just a thought I wanted to pass along to you guys, that again, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your relationships is determined by your emotional vulnerability and transparency, which is impacted by your self-awareness and your social awareness and self-management and social management. And so just think about that. What kind of environment do you want to have? What kind of culture do you want to have? Because again, so not only does the quality of your life determine the quality of relationships, the quality of the culture of your organization is impacted by the quality of relationships, which is determined by the quality of your emotional vulnerability, transparency, which is impacted by your self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, social management. So it all leads to, again, culture and tightness, and which also leads to ultimately effectiveness and efficacy of your family, of your organization. So if you were to do a culture assessment or a vulnerability assessment, ask those close to you. Scale 1 to 10, how vulnerable and transparent do you think I am? 10, super vulnerable, transparent, and emotionally aware of my emotions and your emotions, or 1 being not emotionally vulnerable, transparent, not aware of your own emotion, my emotions and your emotions, right? Ask folks, take a quick, easy poll, but just realize that right now, the level of your vulnerability and transparency, whatever that is, absolutely is impacting performance of your organization, of your family. Absolutely, because culture impacts performance ultimately. So some things to chew on, some things to think about. Thank you guys for watching our YouTube channel, for listening to our podcast, rating, reviewing, subscribing, sharing our podcast, commenting, letting us be a part of your journey. For those of you all that feel like you want to take your emotional growth journey to the next level, your emotional fitness program to the next level, check out eqgangster.com/mafia, eqgangster.com/mafia, to join and be a part of a growing, supportive, trusting, safe group of leaders and influencers that are all wanting to get more emotionally healthy and emotionally fit. eqgangster.com/mafia.